what we're going to do is we're going to do a few presentations about updates that are happening, some other organizations in the city who are working on other similar cool projects, and then a few projects that we've been working on that need some group decisions and input. And so we're going to have a few presentations, and then we break out into separate rooms, all in groups to work and talk more about what we are doing here at NYC Mesh, and I'll explain that later on where to go. All right, so first up is Brian from NYC Mesh and giving an update about what we've been doing.
Yeah, hi. It's been a very busy month, and I just thought I would do a quick update on some of the bigger projects. When I finished putting this presentation together, I realized that there's some big things I haven't even been involved with because I've been so busy. So these are just the big things that I've been involved with. This is, we've got 388 active nodes at the moment, and you'll see some new blue lines on the map. We've actually managed to get a point-to-point up to Prospect Heights from Supernode 3 down in the left corner there. So we're gradually connecting big parts of Brooklyn. This article came out the same day as the past org meetup, and that was such a crazy day. And that's me in an unlikely journal there. But yeah, that was a big event, and people seem to take us more seriously now that we've been in the Wall Street Journal. The very next day, Fox 5 and Pix 11 contacted us, and we did some TV interviews for them. And there's Scott there on Pix 11. It's funny now, like the other day someone said, oh yeah, I heard about your new node and the news. You can watch TV and find out about us now. So yeah, everyone's really busy now, and trying to keep up with all the interest we're getting after these. One problem we had with all the publicity was we were doing so many installs, but we actually lose money on installs, so our bank balance just kept going down and down. Because we were charging $110, and the actual cost is over $240 for an average install, and the hubs are way more than that. So what we did to fix that is we introduced a $290 full price option. And that's the default at the moment. So if you go to /pay, you'll be asked for $290, and you have an option to do the $160. And about 30% of the people do the full price option. But that made a big difference to our bank balance. Now we're not going down anymore. And that's the /pay at the moment. And Willem's going to do a longer presentation on our install fees and related things. So this is our current bank balance, which is much healthier than it was last month. The big part of that, though, is we got $6,000 hardware payment from Grand Street, because we're building a huge hub at Grand Street, 410 and 460 Grand Street. So that came in a few days ago, and we'll be beginning on that soon. And monthly subscriptions have really increased a lot. You can see the curve there at the bottom. We're now at $3,560 a month. That's mostly $20 donations coming in a month. So it wasn't so long ago, that was like 2,000, so we're really picking up there. And our bank balance got down to like 3,000 or something earlier in the month. It was really a bit scary. And on top of that, we owe a couple of thousand to ISOC, so it was yeah, we didn't have much in the bank. Yeah, we. Yeah, I logged into Chase a month ago and I could see Supernode 1 in the login screen. That's our antennas in the red circle there. And but we've also got our own NYC Mesh Inc. bank account now. We're at the very early stages of this. We're not a non-profit yet. It takes a while to get that status. But we actually have an account and we can start doing hardware purchases and that through this account. This is an amazing new rooftop we have. It's called the Prospect Heights Hub, or PH for short. And it's the best view of any rooftop that we have. It's just amazing. It's looking out Prospect Heights there, and off to the right you can see Saratoga in the distance. It's going to really change how many people we can connect in Brooklyn. And we've already got point-to-point from Supernode 3 to here, so we should get over 500 megabits from that. And it's a 5 gigahertz thing. We haven't used that in point-to-point before, but it'll be good because it won't go down in the rain. But yeah, we're all very excited about this hub. It should be finished in maybe tomorrow. And this is a Grand Street one, which we got the $6,000 for. And yeah, we're ordering hardware for it this week, and we should be starting on it next week. So we're really picking up the pace on doing the big hub nodes. And yeah, obviously once we get these hub nodes up, it's much easier to connect lots and lots of rooftops. This is there's no link, obvious link to this, but it's on the website /stats, and it's active node counts and node requests. You can see we're growing quite quickly there. This, especially in the last 2 months, it's just gone nuts. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Now Zach's going to give a few more updates on our network as well. So.
Thank you. Let's see. Is it just next or? Ta-da. Okay, so Brian was talking more about the org, the growth, the cash flow, and so on. I'm just going to update you a little bit about some of the recent changes that have been made to the network, the improvements in the direction it's going, and some of the nice hubs that we've come across recently. So about 5 months ago, I gave a Supernode 3 update, and it was a little bit bleak. And it was like 1 year in and 6 months of paying and nothing, and that's the graphic I showed. Now it looks like this, and Supernode 3 doesn't quite 100% pay for itself, but it's pretty close because we have this many people on it, and soon that hub that's connected, the Prospect Heights, will be a major user of Supernode 3. Plus, we now have 4 or 5 people in the colo, so that's kind of cool. So Supernode 3 has been a major benefit to the mesh, especially on the bandwidth side of things. These graphs aren't the coolest graphs, but I made this presentation in about 15 minutes. We used to, when we put everything through Supernode 1, our limit, even though we technically had quite a bit of bandwidth, we had a gigabit, we could only really use about 300 due to different hardware limitations and stuff. But we rerouted all the traffic from Brooklyn through soft surplus, which I'll talk about in a minute, over to Supernode 3. And so all the Manhattan traffic is in Manhattan, all the Brooklyn traffic is in Brooklyn. And so you can see here that we use about 400 to 500 megabits every day on Supernode 3, in addition to all of that which is used in Manhattan as well. So we usually use about 400 in Manhattan, and we hit 400 or 500 in Brooklyn, which is about a gigabit. So we're using 800 megabits to about 1,000 megabits every day, every evening, which is much more than double what it was 6 months ago or something. So that's great. It means that there's higher availability as well as higher demand. We're also at Supernode 3 itself peaking around 2 gigabits because some of the more recent people who are in the colo are able to go ahead and do cool projects like download all of Wikipedia, and do things like that and try to build cool offline services. So this is our weekly graph for the last week or so, and you can see that it's pretty consistently half a gigabit and then something like that. But it doesn't hurt anyone because we have a lot of bandwidth available there. Supernode 1 update, the lease expired about 9 months ago, and we've been negotiating since then. People who live in New York City, you know that sometimes your lease expires and you get kicked out, and sometimes your lease expires and you don't get kicked out. We didn't get kicked out, but we're within a couple of days of signing a 3-year lease in addition to that. So this is going to be a major uplift of what we're doing, and it continues to be a good site for us. So we're at a little bit of risk, but that's being mitigated immediately, hopefully. I mentioned earlier that soft surplus, which is kind of the new Supernode 2 sort of, but it's not a Supernode. This is what is now taking care of most of the traffic through Brooklyn. It had a major revamp in around June, and we put a 700 megabit connection from Saratoga to this site, plus this VPN server and a whole new infrastructure on the roof. And it can now do about 300 megabits, 300 to 400. More is probably possible, but that's what it can do today. So this is what passes most of the Brooklyn traffic at this point. Also, a Saratoga update, we finally took out that old router that has been running for a long time, poor thing. And now it used to look like that on the left, and now it looks like this on the right. And a bunch of people in that corner did a lot of work, and Brian did, and a couple other people. And so this is a major revamp for us. Not only, I mean, it still looks like a pile of wires, but it's much better. And the future of this is really nice because when we connect it to Grand Street in the future, the way that the wires are laid out, we can just plug in 1 more gigabit of traffic and we can actually consume the whole gigabit versus this other one which won't actually allow us to do that. So we've wired it so that it can pass through several gigabits of traffic in any condition. And speaking of the Saratoga, maybe around May or April, I threw this list of just thoughts about, I called it the Brooklyn Modernization Plan or the Great Path Forward, just to get people stirred up. And it was, we should do all these things, and some of them are very hard to do, and we did almost all of them. Now we can finally do this second to last one, which is convert soft surplus to OSPF, which will be a major benefit because the mesh can now flow in both directions on a single protocol. So this is, I didn't actually think we'd actually accomplish most of this stuff, but we did. And probably the hardest one was to switch 1340 to OSPF. So hooray, yay, everybody. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Brian mentioned Grand Street, and so I labeled this messy slide Grand Street, Pioneer Works, Prospect Heights. And it's a major project. This is not one project, it's kind of 3 projects. The Grand Street part is funded by donation, so that's really great. That's kind of rare for us, that we actually get a site that's funded and we can kind of do whatever we want. But you can see this Grand Street complex in the middle is going to have many paths to some of our more important sites, like Henry Street, Rivington, and Saratoga. And what this does is this basically merges the entire Brooklyn and Manhattan mesh back together so that it's one physical mesh like it used to be some years ago. And this is really important because we're not going to be limited by the VPN server anymore. And it kind of realizes the thing that we always say that we should be doing, which is making a physical network, not like a topology darknet type thing. And so you can see Saratoga will be connected to this Prospect Heights thing and Grand Street. Grand Street will be connected to Supernode 3 via Pioneer Works and Supernode 1 via Henry Street. And everyone in Manhattan and Brooklyn will have a path to the Manhattan Supernode and the Brooklyn Supernode through both Manhattan and Brooklyn. So hooray. That's going to be a major thing. Yeah. And this Prospect Heights, you see it's a different color, I just stuck it in there. But this was not part of the original plan, it just kind of came up as well with art in general, and then this kind of like shoehorned Pioneer Works into being a real project as well. And so, this is going to be very good for everybody. Next. Oh, that's it. That's my last slide. Sure. Thanks. Thank you. Up next is who? Oh, I can do questions. Sure. Any questions?
If they're going to ask questions, please use the mic over there.
Okay. If you're going to ask questions, please use this microphone.
Which has to be switched on.
It's now switched on. Almost. Now it is switched on. Check. No questions. Very good.
All right, great. Thanks, Zach. All right, now so we have some friends from the Queensbridge Tech Lab at the Queens Public Library. So Sadie's going to present.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Awesome. So just wanted to first of all thank Mesh for inviting us to come through here today. My name is Sadie Coughlin-Brego. I'm a digital literacy instructor with Queens Public Library and specifically work at a kind of unique space that Queens Public Library runs called the Queensbridge Tech Lab. And I'm also here today with Jeff Lambert, who's the director of digital literacy at Queens Public Library. And before I get into talking about digital literacy at Queens Public Library, and then more specifically the Tech Lab and all the kind of dope stuff that we do there, I want to just kind of give an anecdote of how I got involved with NYC Mesh. I don't know, how many of you guys have been a part of an install? Or observed or like led? Okay, there's a lot of people. That's awesome. Yeah, so I observed an install at my old apartment. Unfortunately, I can't reach Mesh currently, but my old apartment, and I was there with Olivier was one of the people leading the install with another man, and they were super friendly, and I was just kind of sitting on my roof observing, and I don't know a lot about kind of IT. I work in technology, mostly kind of creative technology. So I was kind of just asking questions and observing, and I kind of had this feeling of my innate curiosity, coming forth, and these guys were super friendly to answer my questions, and this kind of led me to feel how I first felt when I engaged with technology when I was younger, which was in a makerspace. I had the opportunity, a mentor invited me to a makerspace, and I started working there on art projects, and I started seeing what people were doing with LEDs and moving robotics and these types of things. And so I kind of eventually gained the confidence to ask how those things worked. And so basically I wanted to start with that because I think that's the type of culture that we try to create at the Tech Lab, is a space where people are able to gain the confidence to ask questions and to explore technology on their own terms, and kind of follow their own innate curiosities. Yeah, so getting into digital literacy at Queens Public Library. So just to kind of, I'm not sure if any of you guys have been to a Queens Public Library. You should definitely go visit one. Even if you don't live in Queens, you can still have a library card. But this kind of looks like the Mesh map, which is funny, but maybe we'll be connected one day. But Queens Public Library is one of the largest public library systems in North America. We have over 65 branches, and we put together over 80,000 educational, cultural, and civic programs a year. So I'm not sure if a lot of people realize, but we don't just have books. We run all types of programming, and we have a lot of different types of support for new immigrants, to correctional outreach, to digital literacy, to all types of different things. And we have a technology lab, and that's where I have the great pleasure of working at. And we're over in Long Island City, in specifically Queensbridge Public Houses. But this is all of the Queens Public Library branches. So Queens Public Library's Digital Literacy Division or Department supports the development of system-wide technology training for patrons and staff. So we also do a lot of staff development. That's a big responsibility and a part of the digital literacy team. And some of the kind of system-wide initiatives is we have a mobile hotspot loaner program. Like I said before, technology training for staff who are, in the branches helping patrons, whether it's from using a Google account to a computer to using your mobile device. Then we offer foundational computer and Microsoft classes and certification, as well as partnering with open data in order to educate folks on how they can use the open data resource to advocate for their communities. And so now I'm going to get into the Queensbridge Tech Lab. So at the Tech Lab, we're a pretty small space, and like I said before, we're co-located within Queensbridge Houses, which is the largest housing development in North America, housing more than 7,000 people. So we have a big population there, and also that's just Queensbridge, so then there's all of Long Island City as well. And we offer a whole lot of different digital and analog tools and access. And this is why I like to use the word also digital literacy, because it kind of provides a holistic perspective to technology education. So it's not just about being a library that lends out or has access to the tools and technologies. It's also about providing access to the learnings and the design process and project-based experiences, as well as we have a lot of different workshops and courses on privacy and different types of issues on how technology impacts society today. Yeah. And so this is kind of our little half sheet that we give out to people. But these are our hours, and you can feel free to share it with you later on. Yeah, those are our hours. And as you can see, we're in Long Island City. Yeah, so I'm just going to go over some of our programs that we offer. And we offer a lot of different technology and design workshops. We're one of the only branches that offers Adobe, and it's kind of funny that we're in Adobe. I'm not sure if anybody works for Adobe, but we offer. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we offer, if you ever want to come visit. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we teach all types of Adobe software classes, so Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, and we try to always frame it as being entry level and with some more advanced courses kind of mixed in, but we want to engage anybody to learn how to make a flyer to their first album cover or archiving their family photo album. So we have Adobe on all of our computers. We also have a 3D printer and 3D design programming. We offer QuickBooks and as well as some more kind of specialized programs within web development, coding, and more entry-level things like Scratch. We offer job readiness and entrepreneurship programming as well. So I love these photos. These are a mix of people from Queensbridge and also a couple staff members too, which is fun. And this was during a professional development headshot workshop. So people were able to leave after that workshop with professional level headshots they can put on their LinkedIn or whatever else. And we also have an on-site employment counselor who you can set up an appointment with if you need to, brush up on your resume or portfolio. And we do online portfolio development as well as other types of entrepreneurship workshops. Yeah. I just led an Etsy, how to start your own Etsy store, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, so then we get into more creative technology in the arts, which I'm really passionate about, as kind of being a bridge in technology. I like to think of almost everything being technology in a way. So from this little guy designing his caterpillars with pipe cleaners, there's a design process there that he definitely thought through and was methodical about, right? So we have vinyl cutter and craft supplies. So we're a little bit kind of what you'd call maybe a maker space too, with kind of plug and play technology. And we offer an open house every first Saturday where anybody can just kind of come in and feel welcome to the space. And we run an artist residency program, and this is a lot of fun and a great way to, again, introduce people into how they're able to use technology. And this was somebody who was actually in a Photoshop class of mine, Henry Soto, and he's a local Queens resident. And he wanted to share his work with me, and I was incredibly impressed that he was making this stuff in Photoshop and then taking an entry-level Photoshop class. I was like, you could probably teach this class or a class. So I invited him to exhibit his art in the space as a way to also basically show people these are different things that you can make with the tools that we offer here at the Tech Lab. And so we had an opening. He also taught some workshops. So this is something we've just initiated, and so we're always looking to partner with makers and artists and technologists who would like to kind of either do a program residency where you would teach like a workshop or kind of occupy the space in some way, or exhibit physical art on the walls, or yeah. And then these are some other kind of things that we do around data literacy and community science. So we just ran an 8-week program this past summer where we used in the environment in order to kind of have participants experience science and technology in a more real world setting. Participants were making their own air quality sensors and monitoring their own environment. So we were really basing it out of Queensbridge. So it was a great way to also get new people into the Tech Lab by doing programming that was outside. And so we basically focused on air, water, and soil, and did a lot of different hands-on, both what I like to call like soft data and like more discrete or empirical data kind of workshops. And then at the end, we visualized this with a map. And then the other thing I was going to mention was our, like I think I mentioned before, but our partnership with Open Data and leading these system-wide workshops where people can learn more about their how their local government and city agencies work, which is a great way to use technology to create transparency, right? So these are just some photos from the community science workshop this summer. And that top right is the map that we kind of finalized. We took aerial photography with a balloon, and then we kind of created this map and put all the different ecological data that we collected throughout the project onto the map. And BioBus came to visit us too, so they were participating there. And then we have some things we've done with our community partners, because there's a lot of great community organizations in Queensbridge. There's Urban Upbound, which provides a lot of job skill trainings and educational resources for youth. And they participated in a design series that we led that was kind of tying into entrepreneurship and job opportunities, while also just trying to introduce some different technologies that people can use in the space. As well as with Jacob Reese Community Center, we ran a workshop specifically on robotics with middle schoolers, which was a lot of fun. And I know this is really tiny, but this is what our calendar is for September. If you want to come stop by, you're more than welcome to. These are the days that we're open: are Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. So we have a 3D design and printing workshop specifically for families going on, as well as some different job skills workshops and a basic electricity course, which is kind of interesting, more on the physics side of things, and a web development and coding class. And this is October too. But yeah, so thank you guys again for listening and getting to know a little bit about the Tech Lab. And if you want to get involved, or if you want a tour, if you want some of this information, you're more than welcome to email me. And if you want to see our calendar online, you can just go to queenslibrary.org. But I'll be around also for questions if anybody wants to connect further. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sadie. Yeah, it's really cool what they're doing there. Sorry. And yeah, if you want to get involved, it's such an awesome space. Me and another volunteer, Scott, went there a month ago, and it's just so cool to see what they're doing. And such a small space, too. Like, you guys had you went through like 20 minutes of all the different equipment you had and all like the different it was really excellent to see. A really amazing project. All right, so now Willem is going to come up, and Rob, and talk a bit about our pricing. Kind of give an introduction. So here you go.
Thanks, Jillian. I'm Willem, and this is Rob. I just wanted to start with a couple of other small updates before we get to the pay thing. First of all, just a few updates on the kind of mini mesh that we've been developing on the 700 Jefferson Avenue block in Brooklyn. This has been a really exciting ongoing project. We've been working with the block association to get as many people as possible connected on this block. I think we now have about 9 or 10 people connected. I think this was in the past month. Aaron Greenberg, who I don't think is here tonight, and myself went out and joined their annual block party and made a little poster, had some equipment on display, and also showed some of the kids how to actually assemble the routers. There was a make-your-own ice cream station nearby, and I think we got more foot traffic, actually, so I was really proud of that. And just a few weeks ago, we actually expanded to the next block over to Putnam Avenue, and you can see our very happy new node member over here. Many of you may already be aware of this project. It's particularly exciting because we're getting the whole community involved, and we're able to leverage the density of this block to install a kind of minimum of equipment. Many of them are just these single OmniTick routers to connect a maximum number of people. I also realized just a couple of nights ago that we also have a kind of mini mesh in my neighborhood without even realizing it. With the last 2 Omni installs, we've actually managed to get a few different paths back to SuperNode 1. Olivier has been bugging me to upgrade my node so we can make it even more like a mesh. So I'm meeting actually with my next door neighbor tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll be able to figure out how to continue growing it. Like that. One other update, this is about to happen as a result of our install leaders meeting. We decided that we would slightly change the monthly donation options. Currently they're at $20, $50, and $100. And we were finding very few donations at the 50 and 100 mark, so we decided to update them to 20, 30, and 50 with the default toggled on to 30. And so that will be changed on our existing pay page and also on the nycmesh.net/donate page as well, just working through some of the technical issues on finalizing that. The big thing that Rob and I are going to talk about tonight in a breakout section next door immediately after we give this intro is about a proposal that we've been developing, also coming out of the install leaders meeting we had a month or 2 ago, about how much we charge for volunteer-led installs. As hopefully most of you know, we have 2 ways of getting connected to the mesh, aside from if you're part of a big hub install. You can either do it yourself, or you can have me or Olivier or Rob or Jillian or a number of other people come out to help you get set up. And these are our current rates with which Brian just went over, and he talked about kind of why we changed recently, which was largely due to the changes in our kind of hardware that we've been installing. A few months ago, we made a decision to begin installing more OmniTicks. These are routers that help extend the mesh, so not only do you get internet, you can extend the network. And that had financial implications, which led to us kind of losing a lot of money, the combination of this new router and also our increasing popularity. So we made this change to our current pay policy, and we have effectively staunched the bleeding financially, which is wonderful. And now that we've done that, we sort of have the opportunity to think a bit more slowly and do a bit more research and comb through the data and get more input from our community on a kind of more long-term proposal for how we treat pay on our volunteer-led installs. So, you know, we're going to be presenting some graphs like this, a lot of numbers, but really what this is about the people in our community and about making sure that we're as fair and accessible and affordable and that we're fulfilling a number of the other goals that we believe in the Mesh. So Rob and I think we'd like to encourage people who are at the Install Leaders meeting to come to the breakout, but also people who are brand new and other people who care about people and care about our community. And we're hoping that that story will kind of come through the numbers that we're going to present as well. So I think that's it. So we invite anyone who's interested in continuing to learn more about the proposal and giving feedback to join us right next door in about 5 minutes. Jillian, I don't know where. Oh, so you're behind the column. Are there other breakouts that we're going to be doing tonight, or other instructions maybe for people who don't want to join our breakout?
Sure. Yeah. So that breakout will be in School Bus, which is the conference room closest to us, right here. And then on the far end, 100 Points, it's called, is the conference room. So if you're new to NYC Mesh and you want to learn more about us and you want to get volunteer or join the network, we'll be discussing those questions here. And then this will be a bit more of general topics and general, if you just want to hang out and meet people, it's much more open here. So feel free to disperse. Thank you, guys.